Alex had always considered himself careful. Not reckless, not brave, but careful. Living on the outskirts of Violia 9, a neon-lit city filled with ancient ruins and alien relics, caution was a survival skill. The city wasn't kind to the curious, especially to someone who scavenged tech from civilizations long dead. But Alex had never found anything truly extraordinary. That was about to change. He ducked under a crumbling archway, his boots crunching against shards of glass-like rock. The air was cold and still. No flickering neon, no distant hum of hovering transports, only silence. A faint glow pulsed ahead, drawing him closer. It came from a small chamber tucked beneath the ruins, hidden by centuries of dust and debris. Inside, the light came from a pedestal, and on that pedestal rested a ring. It wasn't huge, not gaudy, but it shimmered with an inner fire, colors swirling like liquid fire trapped in metal. Alex hesitated. Probably some alien tech, he muttered to himself. Worth a fortune, maybe. Without thinking, he slipped the ring onto his finger. The moment the metal touched his skin, the air changed. The glow from the ring flared, casting long shadows that danced along the chamber walls. Alex stepped back, eyes wide, heart racing. A chill ran down his spine, not from the cold, but from something alive, something ancient, watching. Finally! The voice was soft, silky, yet carried a sharp edge, like a blade hidden in velvet. Alex spun around. In the doorway stood a figure so otherworldly he could barely comprehend it. She was tall, elegant, and terrifying. Her skin was pale, almost luminous under the ring's glow. Eyes that shone like rubies pierced through the dim light, and long black hair moved as if alive, floating around her like dark smoke. Her hands ended in clawed tips, and a long, flowing robe shimmered with colors he couldn't name. Who are you?" Alex stammered. His voice sounded small in the vast chamber. "I am Queen Nyxara," she said, her voice calm but commanding. "And now you are mine." Alex blinked. "Wait, what, mine? I didn't." She lifted a hand, and the room seemed to bend around her. Shadows grew longer, swirling like smoke, and Alex felt a pull in his chest, as if the air itself wanted to crush him. "You have worn the ring," she said. "The bond is made. You are my fiancé eternally." Alex's brain struggled to process the words. He laughed nervously. "Fiancé. Wait, are you joking? I mean, I barely know you, I'm not." But the laugh caught in his throat as the room seemed to constrict. The ring burned gently on his finger, and in an instant he felt it. A sudden, piercing connection to Nyxara's mind. Her thoughts brushed against his own, not violent, but insistent like ripples on water. Fear flooded him, thick and cold. Okay, I need to." "You do not need to run," Nyxara said. Her voice softened, almost teasing, but Alex could feel the underlying threat. "You need only understand, we are bound now, there is no escape." He stumbled backward, eyes darting around for an exit. There was none. The archway he had entered from had vanished, replaced by a shimmering wall of light. This can't be real," he whispered. "Oh, it is real," Nyxara said. She stepped closer, and Alex felt the air pulse with her presence. "You wear the ring, you share my life, and soon you will understand the power it holds." Alex swallowed hard. His mind raced. How could he have been so careless? A simple curiosity had turned into something cosmic, dangerous, and terrifyingly permanent. "Wait, I didn't mean I didn't know," he said. "I thought it was just some old thing, a relic." Nyxara tilted her head, observing him. "Ignorance does not undo fate." She moved closer. He could feel the warmth of her presence, but it wasn't comforting, it was overwhelming. Every heartbeat, every thought felt exposed. "What does this mean?" Alex asked, trying to sound braver than he felt. "Am I dead? Are you going to—" "No," she interrupted smoothly. "You are alive, very alive, but your life is no longer yours alone. You are part of mine, and mine is vast. You will see worlds you cannot imagine. You will learn powers you cannot yet grasp. But first, you must obey the bond." Alex's stomach churned. "Obey what?" "I just want to go home." Nyxara's laugh was soft but sharp, echoing like crystal in the chamber. Home is no longer a place. It is not your choice anymore." She extended a clawed hand toward him. "Come, Alex, there is much you must see, much you must learn. Resistance will only make your journey more complicated." He hesitated. Every instinct screamed to run, to hide, to fight. But there was nowhere to go. The air shimmered, and suddenly the floor beneath him rippled like water. With a gentle but unyielding force, Nyxara guided him into the center. The pedestal of the ring rose and formed a glowing portal. Before he could protest, the world around him blurred and stretched. Colors melted into light. The floor disappeared, replaced by a void of stars. Alex felt weightless, suspended between fear and awe. When the world finally snapped back into focus, he was no longer in the dusty ruin. He stood on a balcony overlooking a city suspended in the sky, floating islands connected by glowing bridges of light. The stars of a crimson sun bathed the landscape in ruby and gold. Ships that looked like living creatures glided silently between the towers. Alex's jaw dropped. What is this place?" Nyxara appeared at his side, graceful and terrifying. "This is my world, my throne world. And soon it will be yours too if you can survive it." He took a step back, heart pounding. "Survive it? Why would I need to survive it?" "Because," Nyxara said, voice lowering, "this world is full of challenges. Allies and enemies are not always what they seem. And the bond you now share with me, it is coveted. Many will try to take it from you and from me. The ring marks you as mine, yes, but it also makes you a target." Alex's mind reeled. He had always thought his biggest danger was rogue scavengers or collapsing ruins. Now he was part of an alien empire. He had no combat training for this. He had no allies. He had nothing but his wits. "Listen to me carefully," Nyxara said, her voice soft but unyielding. "The ring is alive. It connects us. It will feel your fear, your hesitation, your lies. If you resist too much, it will burn you. If you embrace it, it may grant you strength beyond what your kind can imagine." Alex swallowed hard. The weight of the situation pressed down on him. I don't even know if I want this," he admitted. "I didn't ask for any of it." Nyxara studied him, her eyes unreadable. Then unexpectedly she smiled. "Few would choose this, Alex, but few have the chance to stand beside a queen, and few have survived their first night wearing the ring." He felt a shiver run down his spine. First night. The words sounded innocuous, but her tone made them terrifying. "First night, what happens?" "First night is when the bond solidifies," she explained. "When the mind, the will, and the heart are tested, some fail, some never awaken the power within them. You may awaken or you may break." Alex's mind raced. He thought of running, hiding, throwing the ring into the void, anything to escape. But deep down, he knew it wouldn't help. The bond had already begun. The psychic link was real, and Nyxara's gaze, even when calm, was like a knife. He glanced down at the ring. It pulsed gently like a heartbeat. He felt something strange, a flicker of understanding, a spark of power. Fear mixed with awe. He didn't understand what he was feeling, but it was intoxicating, terrifying, and undeniably real. Nyxara extended her hand. "Come, I will show you the first trial. Only by embracing the ring can you survive what is to come." Alex hesitated. Every part of him screamed to refuse. But he also felt a pull he couldn't explain. The ring seemed to hum in agreement, vibrating with warmth, drawing him toward her. He took a deep breath and stepped forward, one hand in hers, the other trembling at his side. The city below stretched endlessly, lights shimmering like stars, and Alex felt the true weight of what he had done. He had slipped a ring onto his finger, and in an instant his life had changed forever. As Nyxara led him through the floating palace, Alex tried to memorize every detail. The corridors of glowing crystal, the doors that seemed alive, the shadows that moved on their own. Every step reminded him. He was no longer just a scavenger from the outskirts of Violia 9. He was the fiancé of a vampire alien queen, bound for eternity by a ring he had touched without thought. And somehow, deep inside, a small, dangerous part of him was excited. The night was only beginning, and Alex had no idea how much it would demand from him or how deeply he would change. Alex followed Nyxara through corridors of glowing crystal, his heart hammering in his chest. Each step echoed in the vast hallways, which seemed to shift subtly as if alive. The palace was enormous, floating among the stars above her throne world. The structures glimmered like jewels under the crimson sun, and bridges of light connected islands that drifted silently in space. Alex felt like a tiny insect exploring a garden built by gods. "This place, it's impossible," he murmured, his voice trembling with awe. "No human city could ever." Nyxara's sharp eyes gleamed, and she cut him off with a smile that was equal parts amusement and warning. "Nothing here is for humans, yet you walk it now. Every step you take changes you." Alex glanced at the ring. It pulsed softly, almost like it was alive. The pull between him and Nyxara grew stronger with each moment, like a thread pulling him into her world. He didn't understand it, and it terrified him. "First," she said, "you must learn to move in my world. You cannot survive without understanding its laws." She led him to a training hall. Unlike anything on Earth, it floated in a zero-gravity field, suspended over nothing but empty space. The walls were smooth and reflective, and the floor glowed faintly beneath his feet. Alex felt disoriented. Even stepping forward was difficult in the low gravity. "Try to walk," Nyxara instructed, her voice calm but commanding. "Control your center of gravity. If you fail, the hall will remind you." Alex swallowed hard. He stepped tentatively, then lost his footing. He tumbled sideways, arms flailing, and nearly crashed into the glowing wall. A sudden wave of force pushed him back upright, startling him. He realized the palace itself seemed to correct him, almost alive, almost testing him. "Careful," Nyxara said. "This place does not forgive ignorance." Alex nodded, his cheeks burning with embarrassment. He focused, breathing deeply, learning to move differently to anticipate the strange physics. He stumbled, fell, and stumbled again. But Nyxara's presence, the quiet pull of the ring, and the strange energy of the palace slowly taught him balance. By the time the sun dipped below the horizon of her crimson world, he could walk across the hall without crashing. "You learn quickly," Nyxara noted, tilting her head. "Most of my guests fail their first day." Alex frowned. "Guests, you mean people who make the mistake of touching the ring?" She laughed softly, a sound that sent shivers down his spine. "Some call it a mistake. Others call it destiny. Few escape, but even fewer truly understand the bond." He looked at her, noticing for the first time the vulnerability behind her fierce presence. She was centuries old, yet somehow fragile in ways he couldn't yet understand. It made him uneasy, but also curious. "Now," she said, "it is time for your first real test. You cannot survive my world without it." Alex's stomach twisted. He had survived collapsing ruins and dodged dangerous scavengers, but now the stakes were cosmic. Nyxara led him to a balcony overlooking a swirling storm of plasma and stars. Below, a floating island dripped with glowing energy, sharp crystal spires jutting from its surface. At its center was a creature unlike anything he had ever imagined, a predator from another galaxy, its body rippling with energy, eyes like black holes, and tentacles that seemed to slice the air itself. "This," Nyxara said, "is the first challenge. Capture it or be consumed by it." Alex froze. I don't even have a weapon." Nyxara extended a hand. The ring pulsed. He felt a surge of energy, a spark of something unfamiliar and powerful coursing through his body. "The ring is not just a bond," she explained. "It grants you tools you cannot yet name. You must trust it." The creature below roared, shaking the floating island. Alex's heart pounded. He had no idea what the ring could do. He hesitated. Then, almost instinctively, he focused on it. The metal glowed, and he felt a warmth spread through his arm, reaching into his chest and settling in his mind. He reached out mentally, and suddenly he could feel the movement of the creature, the rhythm of its thoughts, its pulse. "Think of it as a dance," Nyxara said softly. "Not a battle, a dance. You must match its rhythm." Alex swallowed and tried. The creature surged, moving closer, but he mirrored its energy with his own. The ring flared, and suddenly his mind moved faster, predicting the creature's motions before it even acted. He dodged a tentacle strike, then another, feeling the pulse of the ring guiding him. Minutes, or was it hours, passed. Time seemed to stretch and bend as Alex learned to control the strange power. Finally, he guided the creature toward a containment field Nyxara had created. With a final pulse from the ring, it was trapped, thrashing but contained. He collapsed to the ground, breathing heavily. The ring dimmed, almost satisfied. Nyxara's eyes glowed with approval. "You survived. Few humans could have done that." Alex looked up at her, heart racing. I did it. For now," she said. "The ring chose you and it has begun to trust you. That does not mean others will." Alex frowned. "Others? You mean people who want the ring?" Nyxara's expression darkened. "There are those in my court who do not accept a human wearing it. They see you as weak, as unworthy, and they will test you in ways that may not be so forgiving." Alex's stomach dropped. He had survived a deadly alien predator, but court politics, that sounded worse. "Do you understand now?" Nyxara asked. "This world is full of danger. And you are not just an outsider. You are marked. You are mine." Alex nodded, swallowing hard. The reality was sinking in. He had made a simple mistake, touching a ring. And now he was caught in a web of power, politics, and danger far beyond anything he had imagined. "Good," she said, and her expression softened slightly. "Now you must learn to move among my people. To survive the palace is one thing. To survive the court is another." The next day, she brought him to a hall filled with beings of every shape and form. Some looked humanoid, others resembled floating crystals or animals with extra limbs or creatures of pure energy. All eyes turned to Alex as he entered. Whispers filled the room. Some were curious, others skeptical, some openly hostile. Nyxara stood beside him, her presence radiating authority. "This is my court," she said. "You will learn to earn their respect, or you will fall." Alex felt the weight of 100 alien eyes on him. Every movement, every word would be judged. He tried to recall lessons from human diplomacy, but nothing prepared him for this. Still, he remembered the ring's pulse, the way it had guided him through the predator's attack. He focused, letting it guide his emotions, his tone, his posture. A being with 4 arms and skin like molten silver approached him. "You dare wear the ring?" it asked, voice deep and resonant. "You are human, how can you claim the Queen's trust?" Alex swallowed. I did not claim it," he said carefully. "The ring chose me. I want to serve and protect the Queen and her world." The being's eyes narrowed. Some of the others whispered, muttering. Alex felt a flash of fear, but the ring pulsed reassuringly. He straightened, speaking clearly. "I may be human, but I am capable. I will learn. I will not fail." For a moment, silence reigned. Then Nyxara's voice cut through the tension. "He is under my protection. Those who wish to test him may do so through trial, not treachery." The silver-skinned being bowed, albeit reluctantly. Others murmured agreement or disgust. Alex realized immediately that every interaction here was a test. Every word, every glance, every smile or frown could shift his position in the court. One wrong move, and he could lose everything, or worse. Over the next days, he learned the palace's subtle rules. How to speak without offending, how to navigate alliances, how to read gestures, expressions, even silences. He learned about rival factions within the court, those who saw him as a threat and those who saw him as a curiosity. Some whispered about removing him from power entirely. Through it all, Nyxara observed, sometimes silently, sometimes with a teasing smile. "You are learning," she said one evening as they watched the crimson sun dip below floating islands. "But do not mistake learning for mastery. The ring will continue to challenge you. So will my world." Alex nodded, exhaustion weighing him down. He had fought predators, learned alien physics, and navigated political intrigue. Yet despite fear, despite uncertainty, a spark of determination burned within him. Somehow he had survived this long, and he was beginning to believe he could survive what came next. At night, when the palace was quiet, he often stood at the balcony, staring at the stars. He felt the ring's warmth, a steady pulse that reminded him he was not alone. He thought of Nyxara, not just as a terrifying queen, but as a guide, a mentor, someone who had chosen to trust him despite his human fragility. The bond between them was growing, strange, and undeniable. Alex wasn't sure whether it frightened him more than it comforted him. But one thing was certain, there was no turning back. He had touched the ring. He had stepped into Nyxara's world, and he was now a part of something larger than anything he had ever imagined. He didn't know if he was ready. Perhaps he never would be. But for the first time, Alex understood what it meant to be bound to a queen. Not just as a human, not just as a survivor, but as someone who might, just might, change the fate of her world forever. Days turned into weeks, and Alex began to realize that surviving Nyxara's palace was only the beginning. He had learned to walk and move through her zero-gravity halls, faced a deadly alien predator, and navigated the tense politics of the court. But adapting to the deeper currents of her world, trust, power, and influence, was proving far more complicated. Each morning he woke to the ring's gentle pulse, reminding him that he was bound to the queen. The connection was growing stronger. He could sense her moods, her thoughts, even when she was not in the same room. It was disorienting at first. Every flicker of fear or doubt in his mind seemed to echo in hers and vice versa. Sometimes it was overwhelming, like standing beneath a waterfall of emotion. But gradually he learned to control it, to focus, to use the ring not just as a bond, but as a tool. He could sense danger before it came, feel the intentions of those around him, and even anticipate movements in combat. "Your training continues," Nyxara said one morning, her voice calm but sharp. "The ring is not just a symbol. It is a guide, a weapon, a connection. And you will need all of these if you are to survive my world." Alex followed her to the central training grounds, a vast platform suspended in the void, surrounded by streams of glowing energy. Unlike the first time, he was no longer a novice. The ring hummed with power, responding to his thoughts, yet every instinct screamed caution. One mistake could mean death. This time you will face multiple opponents, Nyxara explained. They are not mere soldiers. They are elite warriors of my court, each trained in arts you have never seen. You must adapt or perish. Alex's stomach churned. He glanced at the approaching figures, humanoid and alien alike, armed with energy blades, plasma whips, and weapons that seemed to bend light itself. His heart pounded. He remembered the lessons from before: focus, anticipate, trust the ring. As the combat began, chaos erupted. Opponents struck from all directions, testing his speed, reflexes, and strategy. At first, he faltered, tripping over his own uncertainty. But the ring flared, guiding him. He blocked a plasma whip, dodged an energy blade, and countered with movements that felt instinctive, yet were entirely new. Nyxara watched from above, her eyes glowing with approval. Good, let it flow through you. Not fear, not doubt, only purpose. Alex moved faster than he thought possible, dodging attacks and striking with precision. The ring seemed to connect him not just to Nyxara, but to the very fabric of the palace. Walls, floors, and even floating platforms responded to him, tilting, shifting, and giving him leverage. Within moments, he had outmaneuvered the first wave of opponents. Breathing heavily, he faced the final challenger, a figure shrouded in black, moving with unnatural speed and precision. Alex's pulse quickened. He could sense the opponent's thoughts, its intent to strike for the kill. For the first time, he felt fear, not just for himself, but for Nyxara. The ring pulsed again, a warm and steady rhythm anchoring him. He dodged, countered, and seized an opening. With a swift motion, he disarmed the figure and forced it to yield. Silence fell over the training ground. Nyxara descended gracefully, her eyes locked on him. You survived. Not many would have, she said. Her voice was soft, almost approving, but the intensity in her gaze reminded him of the stakes. You are learning to harness more than strength. You are learning to survive as my partner, as my equal in the trials to come. Alex nodded, sweat dripping from his brow. I don't know if I'm ready for all of this, he admitted. Nyxara's lips curved into a faint smile. None are ready at first, few ever are. But readiness is not what keeps you alive, it is adaptability, courage, and trust. Trust in the ring and in yourself. Over the following days, Alex continued his training, learning not just combat, but diplomacy, strategy, and alien customs. He discovered that Nyxara's court was divided. Some accepted him grudgingly, others outright despised him. Rumors spread, whispers of a human who dared wear the queen's ring. Some plotted to remove him, believing he was unworthy. Alex realized that surviving court politics might be more dangerous than any predator or duel. One wrong word, one misstep, and he could lose everything. Yet he also discovered allies, members of the court intrigued by his ingenuity, his courage, and the subtle power he now wielded through the ring. One evening, Nyxara approached him in the palace gardens, a place of floating crystal blooms and glowing rivers. You are changing, she said softly, her eyes reflecting the crimson sun. Not all changes are easy to accept, but growth is necessary, and soon the trials will test more than your skill, they will test your heart. Alex frowned. Trials, what do you mean? Nyxara's expression darkened slightly. The ring binds us. That bond is more than physical or mental. It is emotional. You will feel what I feel. You will see what I see. And others will try to exploit that connection. Your heart will be tested, Alex. Your loyalty, your courage, your love, even if you do not yet understand it. Alex's chest tightened. The thought of emotional vulnerability terrified him more than combat or politics. Yet he could not deny the pull he felt toward Nyxara, the strange warmth of the ring, or the curiosity about her long life and experiences. The next day, he faced one of the court's secret tests. A rival faction challenged him to a duel, not with weapons, but with wits and strategy. They set a simulation, a virtual landscape filled with illusions, traps, and unpredictable enemies. Alex had to navigate it using his knowledge, intuition, and connection with the ring. At first, he stumbled. The illusions confused him, the traps were deadly, and he struggled to anticipate the movements of his simulated opponents. Yet gradually, he learned to trust the ring's guidance. He could sense threats before they materialized, predict patterns, and move with surprising efficiency. By the end of the trial, Alex had not only survived but outsmarted the simulation, earning the grudging respect of some of the rival courtiers. Nyxara observed quietly, her expression unreadable until the last moment. Then she spoke, her voice soft but carrying authority. You are proving yourself worthy, but remember, the ring does not act alone. Your choices, your courage, your heart, these are what will truly define you. Days later, Alex faced a more dangerous challenge. An alien predator, larger and more intelligent than any he had faced before, was released in a controlled environment to test his combat and leadership skills. He was expected to command a small team of court warriors, coordinate attacks, and use the ring to anticipate the creature's moves. The battle was chaotic. The predator's speed and intelligence pushed Alex to his limits. One wrong decision could have been fatal. Yet through trust in his team, strategic thinking, and the guidance of the ring, he led them to victory. The court watched silently, impressed despite themselves. Alex realized that he had begun to earn not just survival, but influence, respect, and even admiration. In private, Nyxara approached him again. You are growing stronger, she said. Not just in skill, but in understanding. You are beginning to feel the weight of the ring and the responsibility it carries. Alex looked at her, unsure what to say. It's overwhelming. Sometimes I feel like I'm drowning in it. Nyxara's gaze softened slightly, a rare vulnerability showing. That is part of the bond. It is meant to test you, to shape you. You cannot fight it, but you can learn to navigate it. You are stronger than you believe. Over the following weeks, Alex became more confident. He learned alien languages, understood the subtle cues of the court, and began to anticipate political moves. He even discovered that the ring could amplify his thoughts into actions, small, precise manipulations of energy, movement, and perception. Yet, despite progress, he faced growing tension. Some factions in the court were openly hostile, plotting against him. One evening, he overheard a counselor whispering to another, "A human wears the ring. He will bring ruin to the queen's reign. We must remove him soon." Alex's heart sank. The court was not just a place of politics. It was a battlefield of hidden agendas. And now he realized survival required not just skill and courage, but cunning, diplomacy, and sometimes deception. One night he stood on the balcony, looking out at the endless stars. The ring glowed softly on his finger, a reminder of the bond he could not escape. Nyxara appeared beside him, silent, watching the crimson horizon. "You are thinking too much," she said softly. "You focus on threats, on challenges, on the court, but the ring, it responds to you, Alex. Your strength, your courage, your willingness to act, even in fear, these shape it. You have learned to survive, now you must learn to thrive." Alex nodded, though he wasn't sure what thriving meant in a world where every step could be a test, every word a trap, and every emotion exposed. Yet he felt a strange determination building. He had survived predators, trials, illusions, and court intrigue. Perhaps he could survive what was next. And he realized something terrifying and exhilarating. The bond with Nyxara was no longer just a curse. It was a source of power, guidance, and connection. He could feel her thoughts, her fears, her trust, even her curiosity. And for reasons he didn't fully understand, he began to care for her, not just as a terrifying queen, but as someone whose strength and vulnerability fascinated him. He didn't know what the future held. Court politics would grow more dangerous, alien threats would escalate, and the bond of the ring would demand more from him than he could imagine. But for the first time, Alex believed he might survive, and perhaps even rise to meet the challenges of being the vampire alien queen's fiancé. The night stretched endlessly, filled with stars and possibilities. Alex felt the ring pulse gently on his finger, a steady heartbeat connecting him to a world he had never imagined, and to a queen he could not escape. He did not know if he was ready for the trials to come. Perhaps he never would be. But he had begun to understand one thing clearly. In Nyxara's world, courage was not enough. Strength was not enough. Survival depended on trust, intelligence, and the willingness to embrace a destiny far greater than any he had ever imagined. And Alex, for all his fear and doubt, was beginning to embrace it. The crimson sun hung low over the floating islands, casting long shadows across the palace of Nyxara. Alex stood on the balcony, the ring pulsing gently on his finger, a constant reminder that he was no longer merely human. He had survived predators, political intrigue, and deadly trials. He had learned to navigate the court, earn the respect of alien allies, and even trust the queen in ways he hadn't thought possible. Yet tonight, a deeper unease settled over him. Nyxara appeared beside him silently, as graceful as always. Her eyes, glowing like molten rubies, held an intensity that made him shiver. "The time has come," she said softly. "The prophecy I warned you about, it is unfolding." Alex swallowed. He had heard whispers of the prophecy, but had never fully understood its weight. Prophecy. "What do you mean?" Nyxara's gaze swept over the floating horizon. "The ring was created not just as a bond between a queen and her chosen, but as a key. A key to balance, to power, and to judgment. Those who wear it, humans, aliens, or others, are tested. Some rise to become allies of the throne, others vanish. The test now will demand everything from you, your courage, your intelligence, your heart, and your loyalty." Alex's pulse quickened. "And if I fail?" Her eyes softened, but the warning remained. "Failure is not an option. Not for you, not for me. The fate of my throne world, and perhaps more, rests in your hands." A sudden tremor shook the balcony. Below, the sky rippled, and Alex could see a dark mass rising from the void, a cosmic entity, ancient and terrifying. Its form shifted constantly, black smoke twisting into claws, tentacles, and jaws, all writhing toward the palace. The court's defenses flared as energy barriers ignited, but Alex could sense the entity's strength through the ring. It was immense, intelligent, and relentless. "We must act," Nyxara said, her voice commanding. "This is the trial of trials. You will fight with me side by side. Only together can we survive it." Alex nodded, fear and determination colliding. He had faced predators, but nothing like this. His connection to the ring pulsed stronger than ever, and he felt a surge of energy in his limbs, a combination of human ingenuity and alien power. The battle began instantly. The entity struck with blinding speed, sending waves of destructive energy at the floating palace. Alex and Nyxara moved as one, anticipating each other's thoughts through the ring. He blocked a tendril of dark energy with a sudden barrier of his own creation, a shimmering shield that pulsed from the ring's power. Nyxara struck beside him, her claws slicing through the entity's form. She moved like water, elegant but lethal, and Alex followed her rhythm, striking at weak points he could sense through the ring. Together, they pushed the creature back, but it adapted quickly. The entity split into multiple forms, each attacking from a different angle, testing their coordination, strength, and reflexes. Alex realized that brute force would not win this battle. He had to think strategically, use his knowledge of the palace, the floating islands, and the environment itself. He guided parts of the entity into energy traps Nyxara had prepared, using their attacks against them. The ring pulsed with each success, lending him strength, focus, and clarity. Yet the entity was cunning. It anticipated his movements, forcing him to adapt faster than ever before. One tentacle lashed at him, sending him tumbling off a platform. Panic surged, but the ring glowed brighter, anchoring him to the world, and he reached out mentally to Nyxara. She extended her hand, pulling him back into sync. "You're learning," she said, her voice steady even as the battle raged. "Now trust yourself fully." Alex focused, drawing on everything he had learned, the combat training, court strategy, and subtle energy manipulation from the ring. He found patterns in the entity's chaos, exploiting its weaknesses. With a coordinated strike, he and Nyxara unleashed a pulse of energy that shattered part of its form, forcing it to retreat temporarily. But the fight was far from over. The entity recoiled and reformed, larger and more threatening. It struck directly at Nyxara, and Alex felt the psychic shockwave through the ring. Fear flared, pure and raw, but instead of panicking, he channeled it, letting it sharpen his senses. "You must decide, Alex," Nyxara shouted. "Do you embrace the ring fully? Do you accept the bond and the power it grants?" Alex's mind raced. The ring was more than a tool now. It was a connection to Nyxara, to her life, to her world. He could feel her thoughts, her trust, even her hope for him. If he hesitated, they would both fall. I accept it," he yelled, feeling the energy surge through him. The ring flared brilliantly, and Alex felt himself changing, not physically but mentally and spiritually. He could sense every pulse of the entity, anticipate its attacks, and coordinate perfectly with Nyxara. They moved as one, a single force of will and power. With a final, synchronized strike, they struck the entity's core. It screamed, a soundless, soul-shaking roar that echoed through space and disintegrated into nothingness. The palace trembled but held firm, and the floating islands shimmered in relief. Alex collapsed, breathing heavily, but a smile formed on his lips. He had survived. Together, they had survived. Nyxara approached him, her eyes glowing softly, a mixture of pride and something deeper, something almost human. She placed a clawed hand gently on his shoulder. "You did well," she said. "Not as a human, not as a courtier, but as my equal, my partner. You have earned your place by my side." Alex looked at her, feeling the depth of the bond between them. He realized that the ring had not just connected them physically and mentally, but emotionally. He cared for her not just for her power or beauty, but for her courage, her intellect, and her loyalty. And he sensed she felt the same, though her pride kept it carefully veiled. Over the following days, the court hailed their victory. Alex's position shifted. Factions that had doubted him now approached with respect. He was no longer merely a human intruder. He was the queen's chosen, her partner, and a key player in the governance and protection of her world. Yet even in triumph, challenges remained. The ring pulsed constantly, a reminder that the bond required more than courage or skill. It demanded understanding, empathy, and an acceptance of responsibility. Alex spent long hours learning from Nyxara, mastering the subtle manipulations of energy, politics, and trust that the ring amplified. One evening, as the crimson sun dipped behind the floating islands, Nyxara brought him to a high balcony overlooking the city. "You have grown, Alex," she said softly. "Stronger, wiser, more capable, and yet the bond will continue to test you. The ring chooses not only what is needed but what is deserved. You have proven yourself worthy, but you must continue to prove it every day." Alex nodded, feeling a deep sense of purpose. He had started as an ordinary scavenger, lost in a ruin and guided by curiosity. Now he was bound to a queen, part of a world far beyond anything he had imagined, and faced responsibilities that could shape the fate of countless lives. "I understand," he said. "I will not fail." Nyxara's expression softened, and for a moment Alex glimpsed the woman behind the legend, the loneliness, the weight of millennia, and the desire for a partner who could stand by her side. "I do not ask for your perfection, Alex," she said. "Only your courage, your honesty, and your willingness to grow, that is enough." Alex felt a warmth in his chest, a strange mix of relief and excitement. He had faced the trials, endured the challenges, and embraced the bond. The ring pulsed gently, almost approvingly. For the first time, he felt at peace in her world. Not fully human, not fully alien, but something new, something stronger. Weeks passed, and life in the palace began to settle into a rhythm. Alex continued to learn, to grow, to navigate the court, and to face challenges that tested his mind, body, and heart. The bond with Nyxara deepened. He could feel her moods, anticipate her thoughts, and even influence outcomes with the ring's subtle guidance. Yet he never felt controlled, only connected. One night, standing on the balcony, he looked at Nyxara and smiled. "I don't know what comes next," he said, "but I do know one thing: I don't want to go back to being ordinary." Nyxara's eyes glimmered with something almost human, affection, respect, and perhaps even something deeper. "Nor should you," she said. "This world, this bond, is not for the ordinary. You have chosen to rise to meet it, and I am proud." Alex glanced at the ring. It pulsed gently, a reminder of the path he had chosen and the responsibilities he now carried. He felt ready, not just to survive, but to thrive. To embrace his role as the queen's partner, her equal in trials and triumphs, and a part of a destiny far greater than anything he had imagined when he first slipped the ring onto his finger. Together they stood on the balcony, looking out across the floating islands, the glowing city, and the endless crimson sky. The bond was eternal. The challenges would continue. The ring would test him, guide him, and demand more than courage alone. But Alex had grown beyond the ordinary. He had faced the trials, embraced the bond, and discovered strength he never knew he had. He was no longer just a human scavenger. He was a partner, a warrior, a trusted ally of a queen. And for the first time, he realized that destiny was not something that happened to him. It was something he could shape. The stars stretched endlessly before them, and for the first time, Alex felt truly at home.